we could just transfer you to Miss Fluker. And really, this is kind of very much like it was when I first arrived in the 80s and Steve Pappas was managing editor. Steve would agree with any complaint that came his way and was always happy to relay them to a reporter, often with added emphasis and hand-waving. Those are the days when I sat next to John Carter, which was a real joy. You know, sitting around Carter when he answered the newsroom phone was like listening to those old Bob Newhart routines where you just got to listen to one end of the telephone conversation, you know, and just had to fill in the blanks. And he was never one to forward complaining calls to management if he could avoid it. You say you don't want to talk to anyone lower than Steve Pappas? Well, sir, there is nobody lower than Steve Pappas. On Valentine's Day, I found him calming down his ex-wife. A card? Well, no, I didn't. Barbara? But if I sent you a Valentine's card, I'd have to send a Valentine's card to all my ex-wives. It was a different time, and I believe, for instance, I am the last generation of newspaper guy to work with somebody who was unironically called Scoop, and whose standard working attire included a belt buckle that displayed a scorpion encased in plastic resin. Nobody has nicknames anymore. When I started out, when I worked with Dez, Whiz, Moboy, the Skunk Pisser, Mother Moore, Weasel Boy, and I always said hey to Amazing Grace in the hall. And those are just the non-libelous nicknames. And I learned everything I needed to know as a political columnist from Desi. He was the one who, on surveying a rich array of candidates all running in account for Holly Hill County Commission, City Commission, sighed and said those immortal words, "There is no swamp so tiny and fetid that somebody doesn't want to be head frog." One time, City Commissioner Bud Asher came in to complain about a story, and Steve Pappas pushed him over to Desi. It was a story that made the commissioner look kind of bad and petty, but didn't actually involve anything actionable. In fact, Bud was mainly mad about the tone and not the facts of the story, and Des explained to him that to do this kind of clarification that he was asking for meant rehashing the whole sorry story all over again, which would give it another day of life and another news cycle. The commissioner was not understanding this and still wanted a clarification, so Des put his hand on the man's shoulder and explained things in more basic terms. "Commissioner, clarifications are like a bucket of shit. The more you stir it, the more it stinks." There was no clarification. We worked at a special place. Who in the modern media can say, as we did, that we worked for a musical theater troupe that also put out a daily newspaper? A place where you would actually see the publisher in a tuxedo on election night, having come to the newsroom from a theater event, standing amid the night desk, scowling at election returns. And when I say this, I have to explain to people that I'm not describing some black and white movie on Turner Classics. I really saw this happening. We lived in a rarefied, quirky environment, and most of us didn't even realize it at the time. A place where a linotype operator would move to the layout table and then write an outdoors column that mixed discourses on the solunar tables with Victorian nature lyricism. A place where the phrase, "yak butter is the principal export of Tibet," was considered an all-purpose filler for when columns ran loose. where we managed to run the phrase, "another near-perfect day on the world's most famous beach," every Sunday for more than a year. And dutifully reprinted baseball card-style profiles of the London Symphony Orchestra every day for a month. Know your LSO. Where our editorial page joyously celebrated Howard and Nancy Tipton Day as though it were a real holiday. John Carter would say, "I try to live every day as though it's Howard and Nancy Tipton Day." And where every photogenic bird looked forward to a tasty meal of fish. I tell people these things and they think I'm making it up. And as I look at the colorless place I work at now, sometimes I wonder if I have. Well, thank you all for coming. There's still music ahead and there's food. And why should I talk when they're still pouring beer? Thank you very much.